I received an email this week from Phil, and he was very frustrated because he has been working on the trigger point therapy and the contrast therapy in an attempt to improve his flexibility or range of motion, whichever way you want to refer to it as. When we started having a conversation via email back and forth, what we realized was his efforts to increase his flexibility and his functional range of motion had actually less to do with the flexibility and the elasticity of the muscle tissue and had more to do with chronic dehydration. When we started evaluating his food intake, he was not eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. Both of those have an abundance of vitamins and minerals, and they're very high in, they have a high water content rather. When we looked at his water intake, your goal on a daily basis is to take your body weight in pounds, divide it by 2, and consume that amount of ounces over the course of a day. Now that's just to sustain life. That doesn't include what you lose in the form of sweat. That's where we have a sweat rate calculator that you guys can find in the description box below here on YouTube. So if we come back full circle, we have an individual who he needs to have better range of motion. He realizes that his lack of flexibility is starting to negatively impact his sport of choice. This happens to be a wakeboarder. This wakeboarder is realizing that he's not getting the pop off the face of the wake, and because of that, it's starting to limit his capabilities on his skill set, tricks, and things that he's able to land. Now, bring that back full circle. If you find yourself, maybe your range of motion hasn't been good since you were young. Lord only knows how your hydration has been since you were a child. If you've been in and out of the heat and humidity, whether professionally or just recreationally, that's what we call chronic dehydration. And the cumulative effect of that is the muscles stop sliding and gliding. If you look at the different layers of the body itself, you've got the skin, you have the fascia, you have the muscle, you have the adipose tissue. All of those layers have to have a certain percentage of water in them so that they can slide and glide. Now, if we come back full circle, when those muscles are able to slide and glide, the muscles will be more receptive to being stretched without the risk of them tearing. The best analogy I can give you is a dry sponge. A dry sponge is going to tear much easier than a saturated sponge. So if you just kind of think about that, having the muscles and the tissue and the fascia, everything sliding and gliding is going to have better range of motion because it's going to literally stick less, and then it starts kind of a cascade of issues. Let's go negative here for a moment. When you become chronically dehydrated, the tissue doesn't slide and glide, which increases the core temperature, which increases the sweat rate, which just compounds the dehydration effect. And you may have been doing this for years and not even realize it. So if you're having the same problem associated with increasing your range of motion, stop and look at your fluid intake, look at your food intake. Snack on fruits and vegetables. It's a win-win-win. There's vitamins, minerals, and water. When you're looking at your hydration levels, make sure that you don't overhydrate, because then you get into a case known as hyponatremia, where you're diluting the electrolyte content inside the body. We don't want to do that either. So kind of complement the two together. Let's look at your hydration habits. Let's look at your food habits, and then let's make sure that we continue with the trigger point, Epsom salt bath, massage therapy, all of the things that you can do to keep the health and the flexibility inside the muscle. We want that to be as optimized as possible. When you optimize your range of motion, you'll immediately have, or rather you'll see an increase in your top end speed and your endurance. So the multitude of benefits associated with good range of motion just stack up quite quickly. Great question, and as always, I hope you feel comfortable enough to send us a question on anything that you may be dealing with, and you could do so by communicating with us through contact@coachrobb.com. Please use that email address whenever you have a question. I want to thank you for watching these videos here on YouTube. We're putting them out every day, and we hope that you'll like and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.